based upon monitoring issues and the fiduciary responsibility as a local elected to the city. We have been through, as some of you know more than others, long years of litigation over clean water issues, and that was critical to us. That was the reason that this was voted on. That's the reason that the city council voted the way, at least 4 of them voted the way they did. And there was no support for funds for the Wetlands Defense Fund or any of those sorts of things. It was specifically related to the potential liability for the city. And that's what the vote was taken on, and that's what the letter will say. So all of the other things you heard are not necessarily true. One of the problems I had with this, and I'm going to say something about it at our next city council meeting, is, and I should have mentioned it that night, is demonization of your opponents because you disagree with them is the wrong way to do business. And we need to get away from that demonization. So I just wanted to get that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sibert. Perhaps you can make certain that the Bay Restoration Commission gets a copy of that letter when it goes out, and staff can circulate it, or you'll circulate it. All right, then. Suzanne? Yes.
Is this on? I have in the past reserved my comments for the end of the meeting, but I don't know if it's appropriate now since other people have addressed the public comment period. I did want to address a couple of items that were brought up, and I thank John Sibert for his comments regarding demonization. Yesterday I requested and received a copy of the resolution that was approved by the Los Angeles County Democratic Party, and I would like to say for the record that 3 statements in the resolution were irrelevant to the project. 1 statement was half true, the rest of them were completely false. State Parks does intend to rebut this resolution because it was completely based upon false statements. The Democratic Party and its resolution committee never contacted State Parks to ask questions about issues that were raised by the author of the resolution. There has been a lot of false and inflammatory statements that have been made in public forums that now are rising to the level that give a lot of us great concern. At the Malibu City Council meeting last week, people who came to support the project were threatened by other members of the audience. One person who came merely to observe was told by someone who was a project opponent, "We're going to get you for what your friend testified to," someone that she was just talking to in the audience. I myself was pointed at and called out by name by a Malibu City Council candidate, and in a very threatening manner, and other people have reported threats to me as well. I believe that this arises when false and inflammatory statements are promulgated by people and demonization occurs, and I certainly hope that no person comes to physical harm because of these emotions that have been aroused. The author of the Democratic resolution testified that one of the agencies involved in the project had been audited for one of its grants by the Department of Finance. This individual went on to use such inflammatory statements as corruption, mismanagement, and other statements of such kind. These statements never appeared in the audit report. The audit report I read myself, and it was a pass. The agency passed the audit. It amounted to nothing, not even a wrist slap. The only fault they found were things such as the agency did not have written accounting procedures in the project file. This hardly amounts to comes to mismanagement and corruption. Perhaps the reason that the individual did not mention the agency by name was that as an attorney he realized that he might be subject to slander accusations. Other false and misleading statements have been made by project opponents that at the lagoon demonstration that occurred that State Parks refused to allow the media into the site. This is false. I myself saw KABC news footage inside the lagoon. This is also on the website of the project opponents. The website states that wildlife will be killed. At the hearing, Kimball Garrett, very well-respected ornithologist of the LA County Natural History Museum, testified that, contrary to opponents' statements, least terns and snowy plovers will not be harmed at all. Their habitat will not be affected at all. The anger and outrage from the project opponents when confronted with the truth that contradicted their almost religiously held beliefs was palpable and audible. I would urge the project opponents to adopt a much more objective form of public discourse. I would certainly be very sorry if anyone came to personal harm as a result of the emotions that are being continually stoked up by these outrageously false statements. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Yes, Fran.
Would you be willing to tell us who authored the resolution?
Mr. Ted Vail.
Talk about demonizing.
Yes.
You'll probably tell me if I'm out of order, but I'm going to proceed anyway. This seems to be a fairly hot issue, and frankly, I've kind of lost focus in the different elements to it. Would it be possible, without corrupting the timetable of the project, to get some technical advisory committee to look at it, third-party independent, and give us both the pros and the cons, so we can understand what the issues are more fully?
Well, we can't have a discussion.
The comment that this is already underway, and we're funding the USGS to do exactly that.
And
It's a
then,
city.
what is
Okay.
the SMBRC?
Well, like I said, we cannot have a discussion back and forth on this. It's not on our agenda today. We do have one other individual waiting in the queue, and I think we can
Well,
move on
then
to our
could I
next item of
request that
business.
it be put on an agenda for the next meeting?
Yes, you certainly may.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm formally submitting that we put it on the agenda.
All right, and we will consider that at the next executive committee meeting and determine whether, when it can be agendized. Thank you.
After
Yeah,
it's-
so
after it's
one more
started.
comment and then let's move on.
Hi, members of the commission, Joan Pardo,